Many people think they're in the market to buy a home if they pursue listings online. But you truly aren't serious until you've secured the team you trust that consists of an agent and a lender. In this episode of the SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Sweasey, Ermina Karim from Guaranteed Rate Mortgage in San Luis Obispo joins the team to stress that lenders are not only providing you the funds to secure the American dream, but also your biggest advocates in managing your finances in order to do so. Products such as permanent and temporary buy-downs can actually better help you manage your finances. When you compare rising rent costs versus fixed mortgage costs with tax benefits, you actually will be better off buying a home, despite currently high interest rates. Remember, local lending is the only lending. Here's your host, James Bueno.
It is another beautiful day in San Luis Obispo. Mr. Sweasey, we're going to do a podcast today. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
And then we have JT, the man himself. He's here. What's up, JT?
Are you kidding me? Am I ready?
I'm just asking. I'm just wondering if you're ready or not.
Don't insult me. I am always ready.
Bad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Boom.
This guy's primed and ready to go.
And you heard his voice, Mr. Pete. How are you, sir?
Even if it was pouring rain, it's still beautiful in San Luis.
It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Ecstatic to be here.
And it seems like we just have another podcast staff member with us today. How do you want to introduce her?
Yes. We have the very good fortune of having Ermina Karim here from Guaranteed Rate.
Yeah.
She's a mortgage lending specialist. Ermina, how would people reach you after our podcast?
They could call me directly or text at 805-602-0248, or I'm like most of us on email all the time, and I can be reached with my business partner, Donna Lewis. Donna, Donna, Ermina, Ermina, at rate.com. Or if you like to get a coffee at Black Horse downtown, we're right next door, and we'd love to buy you a coffee.
Can we
Pastry too?
Take that up too? Yeah.
Include a pastry?
I'll throw in a pastry for you beautiful people.
Yeah.
You know what we used to do for guests? We used to give a round of applause. Let's do that.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't done that in a while. Yeah. Round of applause. You've been amazing. Thank you. We need to get rolling, Hal. We got to talk about.
We all thought it would be important to have somebody in the mortgage industry because there's been so much change, and rates, jumped up as high as, I think, touching 8%, down come a little bit. They move a lot. And, the affordability factor is a big issue because we haven't seen much change in prices, and we've seen a pretty big change in the cost of money. Ermina, what's happening out there, and what are some things that somebody who wants to purchase a home needs to get a mortgage? How are you helping them?
One of the conversations that we were having prior to the start of this is really around spending time helping people to understand how to navigate, how to spend time looking at their own situation and the set of tools available to them. Because there are more than often people realize. We spend a lot of time hearing the headlines, rates are doing this, and absolutely it affects your ability to afford. But there are more solutions than people realize. So first step, always fill out an application. Trust that your lender out there is going to be able to first look at your financial scenario and then say, maybe less down is going to be a better scenario for you now because you expect to make more money down the road. Or maybe there are opportunities, and there always are, to address the interest rate market by buying down your rate. Maybe you do it. Maybe the seller helps you. There are different tools. So that's a long answer. Let's get into the details.
No, well, that's a great answer because I do find people that say, oh, we want to buy a house. Well, you need to go talk to a lender. And they're like, well, I got to, I'm going to do this to my credit. I got to do that. They think they have to get prepared. And I don't think they realize that you're their advocate.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to tell them the right thing to do.
Yeah, we're on the team with their preferred realtor. Our process is a soft credit pull, so I always try to get the word out that your credit's not going to get dinged if you fill out an application. All it does is let us see more holistically your financial picture. And, sometimes it's paying down a credit card that we can do through escrow. That's going to make the difference in the amount of home loan you can take. There's so many tools, but until you fill out the application, we don't really know what we're dealing with.
There's so much that people don't realize that they don't know. Right.
Exactly.
But I wrote down, I like what you said, holistic credit picture. It sounds kind of nice, right? Versus getting a loan. I like the holistic credit picture. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of shame in this country about money and what we think we're supposed to know, and that maybe we make less than the next person, or there's so much around. Or I've got a lot of school debt, whatever it might be. These are so much more common than people realize, and so if you can remove that, and we rely on our realtor partners to help with that conversation because you're already trusted.
Right.
To say, don't worry, they're on your team.
Yeah.
So, Ermina, I'm a first-time home buyer, and I'm kind of shaken up by what's gone on the last 24 months with interest rate. I'm calling you on the advice of a real estate friend of mine. How long is that conversation going to last, and what kind of questions would you ask me?
If you haven't filled out an application yet, I would first begin to understand, where are you in the process? What are you thinking about?
How long does it take to fill out an application? How long?
15 minutes, 10
okay.
minutes. It's digital. Doesn't take long because you don't have to be perfect at it. You just need to get it rolling. And then every time somebody completes an application, we take about a 15-minute phone call once we have it. That's, of course, that can expand if you've got a lot of questions. But the goal is first to suss out your situation.
And in that 15 minutes, you're kind of coaching me on what options I might have that I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, first, I'm going to try to understand what is most important to you.
Okay,
and
good.
then really make sure I have a really clear picture on what's happening in your situation so I'm not making assumptions. Because maybe you're expecting a raise coming down the road, or there's another there's different things that are happening.
Got it.
Or you want to buy the home for only 2 years versus this is your forever home, whatever it might be. So we take time first up front understanding what your goals are, and then I can help present financial scenarios and build a strategy to achieve it.
So it sounds like you're trying to figure out a way to really help me and be my advocate rather than what people used to think of as bankers, and their job's to say no. No, you only get paid if you say yes, right?
I'm 100% trying to get to
got
yes.
it.
Yeah, and hopefully numerous routes to yes, honestly, because what somebody's priority is, everybody's always asking every day, well, what would you choose? What rate buy down would you choose? Or how much % would you go down? Well, some of that's your risk tolerance. Some of that's what you know in your own personal future about what's coming up. So what I want to do is make sure you have the information so you can make the decision that's right for you.
Hey, I'm all in at 5.5, but they're 7.5 today. So I've kind of taken a step back, and what I'm hearing you tell me is you can help me take a step in.
Absolutely.
And what would that look like?
There are two different types of ways to address interest rates. One is called a permanent rate buy down. You're able to buy down the rate by at closing spending additional funds that permanently lock in your rate. So if your 0-point rate would be 7.5%, maybe you spend 1 point. 1 point's always 1% of your loan value, and that can get you to 7.25%, let's just say. I would help you to understand how long it would take to break even on your monthly payments, and then you can decide, yes, that's a 2-year break even. That makes sense for me because I don't plan to refi in that time. I plan to stay in the home, and I'm good with that rate. That rate would stay for the life of the loan until you refinance. Which also, if you're very risk averse and you think rates are going to go higher and stay higher longer, that might be a scenario that will help you sleep at night. There is also a temporary buy down. Temporary buy downs are structured where, and they come in different formats. You're buying down the rate by paying up front a subsidy, and that subsidy is paid for by the seller. And they essentially say, I want to help you ease into the current rate environment. So we're going to do, let's say, a 2-1 buy down. So in your first year, your interest rate would be 2 percentage points lower. So if you were locking at 7.5%, the first year your payment would be at the 5.5% note rate, then 6.5%, and then 7.5%.
Okay, so I'm in now.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you respond to the heat as it gets turned up a little bit as that rate goes up.
Well, like Ermina said, I'm the person who's expecting to make a little more next year. So when the rates do go up, I'll have the income to cover it.
Well, and for most people, I think, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to buy a new car. Here's my new payment. It's $300 or whatever that is. It's like, that's a lot. And then they start paying it and they forget all about it. It's like, I got it.
Yeah, you adjust into it.
You learn to manage it without an increase in income, right? And as John would say, he would bet on himself. I like that you said that you're giving financial kind of guidance because people have different thoughts about money because my kids are their late 20s and I was just with one of their friends and she's got a pretty good job and she goes, will I ever be able to buy a house? And she's got some savings. Her mother passed away and she's got some money and she didn't even know where to go put it to make interest. You can go put it in a money market account and make 5%. So it just tells me that the information that you have available for people is more and more valuable all the time because it's just not as commonly discussed, I think.
It's not.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, for us growing up, we never talked about that in my house. I know, you got to go learn that on your own or somebody else.
There's a complete lack of acumen when it comes to money management. It's not taught in the high schools. It's not taught in college.
Elementary school, anywhere.
The only place to learn it's on the street, and you can get bloodied up pretty good unless you got somebody helping you.
Oh, totally. I was of the generation where you graduate from college, and that's the first thing they're giving you is, these really crazy credit cards. Yes, exactly. So a whole, a generation of people, and then beyond, obviously, that just were signed up and got all this free money and felt great.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Free money. That's funny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's free till the end of the month.
Yeah.
Exactly. People didn't understand.
It's free until the 24%.
I can
Yeah.
borrow
Compounded
money,
daily.
money that's cheaper than that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really important. And two, the first meeting with you might be something like, okay, here's a game plan. Your income's there, but we have to help clean up some debt. So here's a plan for the next 6, 12, 4 months, whatever it is.
Or credit counseling,
Yeah.
helping understand where their credit may be.
Yep.
So, and we can run simulations about, well, if you pay down you don't have a lot of, especially if you're a first time home buyer, and maybe you have, you're using up a lot of the credit you've got on your credit cards. Well, there's simple analysis that says, okay, if your balance is at this amount, this is going to predictively say your credit score is going to go up 20 points, 30 points. And those make an important shift for people to be able to afford the home they're going to buy.
Because the better credit score does what?
It improves the cost of your interest rate and the rate available to you.
Better,
which, of course,
better price on
makes
your
your
money.
home more affordable.
Right.
Exactly.
In a prior conversation, I think I asked you about first-time home buyers today and how many of them are getting, some type of help from family members, and you indicated that many.
It's a significant portion.
And does that help come in the form of gifts for down payments, or does it come in the form of mom and dad are going on the deed and going on the loan with the buyer? It
depends, really. I mean, if we've got somebody who is their income, let's just say some kids may have, or younger, whoever it is, honestly, first-time home buyers, maybe they've saved for their down payment, but their income is still making it difficult to qualify for the loan. And there may be things that we can't see entirely as to why they will eventually be able to. Then a cosigner is going to be the more appropriate scenario because you're going to have offsetting improvement in income. But the vast majority of people tend to not want to necessarily have somebody on the loan, but instead have gift funds. You can be on title and not be on the loan. Like parents can then gift funds and have more flexibility because those aren't treated as gift funds from a tax perspective.
Can you give an example, Ermina? Like, so let's say somebody was getting a $500,000 loan. What that means for that buy down? Because we have people listening also that are selling their homes, and
Sure.
Home builders are usually a good indicator. Like, how do you get a home sold? Like when the market was red hot, they didn't call any real estate agents. They just had a sales office. People would show up and they'd sell them places. Then when things slow down, we want the agents to come in and we'll cooperate with them. And I've seen them include cars and whatever it is, put in upgrades and appliances. And now I think they're helping, and I think they're taking the lead with helping buyers with the rates. So what would that look like if somebody said they're buying a $620,000 condo or whatever that is, 600 with 20% down and getting a 500 loan or whatever that is? What would that look like, and how much would that be? And what can you just give a few details on that for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Thank you.
It's such a great tool in this market to help buyers access the home and ramp into it. So in a 2-1 buy down, which would get buyers into the interest rates, so current interest rates, let's say mid-7s, and start out in the mid-5s, a credit from the seller of somewhere between $11,000 and $12,000 would get that done.
Okay.
And so you are able to sell your home at the price you wanted to sell it at.
Yep.
Help people get in with the interest rates where they are today.
Right.
And just really, it's a simple seller credit to offset the costs.
Right.
2-1 buy downs do have to be paid for by the seller, so it's an important tool to navigate the market right now.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that the buy down is a lot less expensive than having to reduce the price of your property so that the buyer can qualify to get in.
Exactly.
There's a huge advantage to that 2-1 buy down, paid for by the seller.
Paid for by the seller. And in all of those cases, one thing to note is that the buyer has to be able to qualify for the full note rate. So it wouldn't change their qualification. So they would still have to qualify for the 7.5%, but their desire to move forward would certainly be affected.
Well, even like, car dealers do that, right? 2.1% financing
Right.
to attract people,
Yeah.
right? And it makes sense to me in real estate, right? I mean, sometimes we get offers and somebody wants a credit for something, buy down, whatever, and here's a 620 offer, but we want a $15,000 closing cost credit. And sellers go, why do you need that? Well, if the buyer's spending every penny for their down payment and their closing costs, they got nothing left to all the other fees. It's usually part of it. So I think we're going to see more of that. I think it's more of a balanced market where that's a good move for someone at 620 to give up $11,000 or $12,000 to make a sale. That doesn't oftentimes move the needle in the price, right? From 620 to 609, that's about 11, right? Versus I got 5.5%, then 6.5%, and then the third year 7.5%. If rates go up to 9.5% the next 2 years,
You're hurting me.
well, that means we probably got some pretty serious inflation, right? Because if we didn't have inflation, we probably wouldn't have these higher rates. Am I thinking clearly?
Correct.
Okay, so they're up, and they're in 2 years they're 9.5.
Apart in that
right?
scenario, yes.
So they're at 9.5%, and I mean I've been doing this 30 years. I've bought and sold houses or represented people 8.5%, 9%.
Sure.
It's happened, right? It's not
Yeah.
like it's unknown. So there's inflation then. That means it's still going. So I wonder if that buyer's still happy when the rates go to 9.5, if they get in at 7.5, even though we're all hoping they'll go down at some point, because they've got inflation, which means the cost of a lot of things are still going up,
Sure.
right?
Including the house that they purchased has probably gone up
Absolutely.
in value.
Or the rent they would have been paying,
Exactly.
right? Because rents are going up because everything
Absolutely.
just costs more,
Exactly.
right? Everything costs more now, no matter what, than it did 20 years ago.
You just touched on rents as well, and that's one of the key pieces that we try, especially with first-time home buyers, is to contextualize what's happening with rents. What does the interest deduction look like, so that people can, so if you can cash flow the purchase, what it will mean for their taxes, so we can scenario that out for people to move beyond. I pay $3,500 in rent, and this mortgage payment's going to be $4,500 or
Right.
$5,000. Well, A, you're not paying for somebody else's mortgage, and B, those aren't straight number comparisons.
Because you're going to get some tax benefits.
Exactly, from your
that'll help
homeowner.
offset the payments.
Exactly.
And then that money you're paying, a lot of it goes down to pay the principal. So you owe less on the property.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of
Over
that.
time.
So Hal brought up this scenario over the next couple of years, our rates going from 7.5 to 9.5, and I had the same feeling where I wanted to throw up as some of the others in the room. So pull out your crystal ball, and what do you think is going to happen the next 24 months?
Don't do that to the poor girl.
That's
what we do here.
Let me give her a break, right? Let me give her a little break while she thinks about it, because we're not going to let her off
Okay.
the hook. We're all going to be on the hook.
Jay, come on, you're killing me.
But so this is 2023. Was it this year? It's because 2022. We made a bet in June. Was it? What
yeah.
rates would be?
Yeah.
And nobody went above 6%.
Yeah, we
right?
were all wrong.
And now
How's
it's
very
the
wrong.
closest?
Yeah.
Hal,
yeah.
sorry.
And so now we're at 8%. And what's happening? John would say we're getting up, we're making breakfast, we're going to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we're waiting for it to go down.
maybe
Like
it is what it
the
is.
I mean, I am.
Of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, I bought a house recently. I'd love to refinance it.
Sure you would.
But I'm not focused on that every day. If it goes to 9.5%, okay, it goes. Whatever. I'm just making this up. So I don't think it's going to be all that bad. But who knows? I shouldn't say that. So Ermina, what is our time frame, John? Because we're just having fun
You
You
here.
said 24
I
months.
said the next 24 months, what do you think is
24
going to
months.
happen?
Ooh, that's a long
I mean,
window.
don't you get that question from your clients?
And nobody ever looks out that far.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
24 months.
nobody thinks that
How about 24 minutes?
Yeah,
Well, 12
they
months.
want to know if they're locking today or tomorrow, or
Okay.
maybe, and then there is really an assumption that in 2 years it'll be better, whatever that
They
number
should
is.
be asking what's happening in
Yeah,
24
you
months.
should
If
be.
they're
That's
getting
right.
They're getting a 2-1 buy down.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
going to happen?
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming back, Jay.
That's the least I can do.
Well, I mean, in the last, and we're going to hear more soon, but as the Fed has indicated, the overnight lending rate is going to stay higher longer. They revised that, whatever that was, 3 weeks ago. So that assumption that rates were going to be a point plus lower in a year, maybe, in the sixes.
Okay.
If you are tracking with that, you would believe that pushes out further. So 24 months from now, 5.5.
Boom.
Wow.
I like that. So, but you're saying 12 months from now, maybe not
Mid
not
sixes.
Yeah, mid to high sixes.
much. Okay.
Can you lock me now at 5.5% for 24 months? Okay, no.
A 24-month lock. Yeah. What's the cost
We
on
do
that?
have a 1 year lock, though.
That's
What?
impressive.
Yeah, we do.
Holy crap. Does
Yeah.
it cost
And
an arm and
no,
a leg?
it doesn't. It's 3/4 of a point.
Wow. Well, okay.
I got locked for like 3 weeks in college, but that was a different,
Yeah, that was.
that was a different situation.
There was a bail paid. It was-
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5.5 and 24 months, right?
24
so this is
months.
November 2025.
And,
Yeah. Well, are we writing this down?
I'm writing it down.
and to Jay and Hal, who are, professional real estate people, the rates go to 5.5. What do you think is going to happen to pricing?
There'll be more available buyers, that's for certain. More competition on the buy side. So prices, and that's fundamental economics. Price is going to be driven by demand and availability.
and more people will move. There'll be more.
Will we
there'll
have
be
more sellers?
Oh, we'll
Yeah.
have more sellers
Yeah.
for sure.
And there'll be a lot of more transportability just in the same county.
Right.
People are locked into their home now because of the rate they've got. Like I'm at 3%. I'm like, even though I'd like a different house with more land, I don't know that I'm not going to jump into
What's
it.
that threshold, right? Is it
Yeah.
4 or 5? How much are you willing to go
Yeah.
up?
It's about at 3 now. It's probably 5. It's probably 5.5.
I've talked about my son buying multiple times on this podcast in Seattle last year. He's at 5.96. 2 years from now, at 5.5, he's going to be ready to sell and buy,
Yeah.
or buy and sell, whichever one comes first. But he'll want a bigger place, and the rates went down a little bit. Prices, assuming, went up a little bit, so take a little out of the house, first one he bought, and move on to the next one, which is how most of us did it 30, 40 years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Jay, what's your number? November 2025, 30-year mortgage rate,
I'm going to say we're floating in the high fives, like 5 7/8.
5.875. Is that what that is?
8.75. There you go.
5.875. John Turner.
The eternal optimist, 4.9.
Oh, stop it.
Wow, that would be amazing.
I'm going to go 6.75.
Oh, you pessimist,
Oh.
you.
Well, he took it
I just
last
like to
time.
be. I just want to be right. I want to be wrong.
I want to be,
Yeah, I want you to
I
be
want you to be
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You're rooting for me now, aren't you?
Yes, 4.99. I like it.
I think there's something that is touched on that we're all we're all in the real estate game, and Hal's in the sales business. I consult and coach real estate salespeople all day, every day, and the one thing that as a consumer you should be aware of is if you're going to be buying a house, you should absolutely get yourself in front of a lender before you even start looking at homes. What's the worst thing that could happen? You connect with an agent, you go find the perfect house of your dreams, you want to write an offer, and yet you can't. You don't have a pre-qualification, you're not underwritten, you don't even know if you can afford it, and the house of your dreams just slips through your fingers. A seller is not even going to look at your offer unless you've got a letter saying that you can buy the thing. So it's imperative that you have that conversation with your mortgage professional up front before you even start looking at houses. And leaning into a real estate salesperson that can help guide you if you don't have that person is imperative. Additionally, working with somebody that's local is also a huge difference. It's a big difference between, there might be some companies out there that offer you great teaser rates that are fully digital and they're not here. Well, they don't have the appraiser pool that a local lender will have. They don't know certain conditions. They can't really guide you in a way that's going to get you teed up to be the offer that gets accepted. So if you're listening to the podcast right now and you're thinking about buying a house, get in front of your real estate professional, make sure you connect with a lender, get yourself pre-qualified, and use a local lender in your community because that makes a huge difference.
and they can have the best lender in the world, my cousin or sister or whatever that lives in Laguna Beach, and they're going to do the loan. We have no history on them, right? And so you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have I had somebody the other day, I was like, oh, geez, how many loans? It's just horrible to have to go through that because we have been down the ringer, and nobody likes going on a 30 to 35 or 40-day escrow, and 30 days in, they go, oh, well, we forgot to double check on this or that. We can't do the loan. Everybody is upset.
Yeah.
Now, a good local lender, we know who they are. We know who to send them to. I don't care. It just makes all the difference. So you're putting yourself at a disadvantage in terms of this, what you get and how you'll be presented when you make an offer on a house.
I appreciate what both of you have said, and there are a number of great local lenders that people can reach out to. It is a relationship too. You're doing whether this is your first or your 15th home purchase, it is a stressful endeavor.
Yep.
And so having people you trust who can help you get it done, ultimately you need your financing to close on the schedule we talked about so that you can actually get the home you want. And so having a team you trust is that understands you to navigate the situation.
I joined Hal's team in 2017, and I have not heard one complaint about an escrow being delayed where a local lender's being used. What I do hear every once in a while, when it's not a local lender, that's where I hear about the nightmare closes.
Or not closing.
Which is a bigger nightmare.
We had somebody handle a VA file for a veteran 30 days in, couldn't do it. Appraisal had mistakes on it. We gave it to someone locally. They approved them in 4 days.
Yeah.
But it just shows you the disparity. It's like, oh, you're a lender, you're probably the same. No. It's there. You got to make sure you're getting the right people.
Ermina, I'm going to be in the market here soon, so once I decide on an agent, I'll be talking to you about pre-qualifications for you.
Well, ask Ermina. She'll recommend.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, Jump Hal, you have something?
Well, if your income is the same at your new job, that could affect.
I'm sure it will be.
Good. All right. Ermina, where can people reach you again?
Okay, please call or text anytime, 805-602-0248, or I'd welcome an email at Donna, Donna, .Ermina, ERMINA, @rate.com. Or like I said, feel free to stop by at Black Horse downtown. We're right next door, and I'd love to buy you a coffee.
That's awesome. And then, of course, you can reach Hal as well and make that contact. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Great podcast today. Everybody, thank you for listening, and we will see you or talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Hal Sweasey podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. Check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on halsweasey.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. halsweasey.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the Hal Sweasey Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Hal Sweasey is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 01111-911. The SLO County Real Estate with Hal Sweasey podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.